Hi, welcome to a brand new episode of Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez. I am your host, Jordan Ramirez, and today we have a special guest. Is your name Maria Fe Picar, or tell me if I pronounced it right?
No, that's fine. You pronounced it right. Sometimes I don't use the Faye, but sometimes I just go by Maria Picar. But
Okay,
Maria Faye Picar's good.
okay. So Maria Picar, welcome to the show. So before we get started, do you think people would what is it that you do before we get started on like the questions?
I'm basically a filmmaker out of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
I currently live in the Portland metro area, so I've been making films since 2005, and I'm also a teacher. I also teach movement in yoga.
Mm, okay. That sounds good. All right. So, you mentioned you're a filmmaker. You've been making films since 2005, and you have a production company called Asian Mainstream Productions. So, where did the concept of creating this independent production company started?
Well, it started, like I said, way back in 2005. I was doing a lot of I started doing some acting back then and some voiceover, took voiceover classes. And I realized that when I was on these sets that there was not a lot of people that looked like me, a lot of people that were of Asian background. And if there were, they were in supporting roles or they were in background roles or they weren't even in crew or anything like that. So I thought, why not make a production company that highlights Asian talent, talent and in diversity in film?
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The content of your films, and I went through your website. Are they just basically Asian themed, or could they represent other underrepresented groups who have not had their voices spoken out, like their ideas or maybe themes that don't get as much attention as, let's say, mainstream Hollywood productions in film and television have undercut, or something like that?
Well, some of my themes are Asian based, but then I also have been very much an advocate for mental health and neurodiversity themes. So I actually have done a couple documentaries, one on called Silent Voices, which was about autism,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one was Borderline, which is about borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder.
Hmm.
So it's not just Asian themes. I think that these voices need to be heard too, especially in mental health.
Hmm.
So I've become passionate about that in the last 4 or 5 years.
That's That's really compelling to hear somebody be dedicated to make films or documentaries about mental health and also people with severe diagnoses. So if you were asked what is the specific goal of the production company Asian Mo Mainstream Pic Productions, excuse me, what would you say is the goal that maybe people have never heard of these films or any of these commercials or anything associated with this company? What is it that you wanted people to know about what your goal is?
Well, my goal is, first of all, to make this production company accessible to people that are of a diverse backgrounds. Because if you look at the website, there's not just Asian talent on there, there's Latino talent, there's African American talent. So that's the number one goal. The number two goal is, of course, to get some of these films distributed
Hmm.
somewhere. And they've been in some film festivals across the nation and internationally. So I guess that's a good start.
That's good. It is a good start because, I've always heard, I don't know if one would agree with me on this. I've always heard this adage of maybe this would be the first time you would see an all black cast in a motion picture or an all Asian cast in a motion picture. It's like, when was the last time you heard somebody say that? And then the next thing you know, uh, maybe 20 or 30 years goes by and then they repeat the same question and then they repeat the same thing again and again. And it's like that process. It's so cumbersome to hear that. Do you often feel like it's a bit tiresome, or do you feel like they just don't take it that seriously when it comes to like how they treat certain minorities in films that maybe Hollywood just doesn't pay that much attention to.
I think Hollywood doesn't pay that much attention to diversity. I mean, they try. I mean, they've, like some movies have like had an all Asian cast, like Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, for
Hmm.
instance. They definitely had an all Asian cast. Um, Black Panther, they had pretty much an all African American cast. And I think the independent filmmakers are the ones that are making this happen with more diversity in their films and trying to get more diverse voices out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it sometimes frustrates me that I always hear it's the first step, it's the first step, it's the first step. And it's like, if it's the first step, then how come we haven't seen that much progress? It's like we're like less than 10% of the way there. It's like it's just so frustrating to me that
Yeah.
I always hear not enough progress when it comes to diverse voices or also when it comes to themes and ideas that don't get as much attention to, let's say, other countries that have already progressed ahead while in Hollywood has been way behind, I guess.
Yeah, it's true because, well, for instance, in the last couple years, we've started getting Asian voices and Latin American voices and African American voices have been recognized in the Oscars. And how long has that taken?
Hmm.
They started nominating people when there were people way back in the day that probably could have been nominated and never were or never won
Hmm.
an Oscar. And
Hmm.
so there's always talent out there. It's just not recognized and it's just starting now, I feel.
Yeah, I mean it's the one thing that I think people need to focus more on. So now that we have covered about Asian mainstream productions, so let's talk a little bit about your background. So you mentioned you were an actor and a filmmaker. So when did you decide to become an actor, and decide you wanted to make films? So what was your background like on that?
So I started as a dancer. I was a dancer since I was 5, and then I went and got a degree in dance and physical education from San Francisco State. And then I started doing theater productions, like musicals and things like that. And so I said, oh, well, film is not that much different. I mean, it's, still acting. So I
Hmm.
started doing film and then I started getting into voiceover because I wanted to be a cartoon character on. So I started taking voiceover lessons and then that's when I started seeing more film sets and realizing that, hey, there's a lot of Asian talent that hasn't been like discovered. And
Hmm.
maybe we can be the first ones to do that. We can pioneer that,
Hmm.
especially in the San Francisco Bay Area. There's a lot of Asian talent that hasn't been discovered. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've been to San Francisco a few times, and if you notice the background, I'm not in San Francisco. I'm in Florida right now.
oh, okay. I was
No, no,
wondering.
no. I have a cousin who lives there, and I have seen when I was in San Francisco a few places that were like there's a Chinatown and there's a Japantown and there's like all these different there's these different areas. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's very diverse.
Hmm.
It's something that yeah, not that many people will know about, but it's often maybe like in in a mainstream production or maybe in an independent production, it's either used as a background, or it's either used as part of the story itself, which I thought it's pretty interesting to show that diversity.
Right, because there's Little Italy too in North Beach.
Hmm.
And there's, like you said, there's Japantown, there's Chinatown. There's where I grew up which was a City College area, San Francisco State. It's like there's a lot of diversity there, but a lot of people don't know about that because they only know about the main touristy attractions. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Florida, and whenever people always think of Florida, they always think of the main attractions in the Orlando area, which is the
Yep.
Disney World or the Universal Studios or anything like that. And here I am in New Tampa, basically, where a little bit of a mixture of Spanish and we have Haitian communities here. And
Cool.
we have a Haitian community in the state of Florida, and we also have Cubans. We
Cuban, I was
have,
going to say.
yeah, Cubans, South Americans, and a little bit of other cultures that have come to the state of Florida. But yeah, with California, it's pretty much similar to my home state of Florida. There's a lot of diversity, uh, besides the fact that one is from the southern eastern part of the country, and California is from the western part of the country, which is two totally different things.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I've been to Florida. I've been to actually I started my going to film festivals in Florida. I think my first one was in Miami with a widescreen video and film festival with Jared Knowles, a friend of mine. So
Mm.
I made some good friends in Florida with going to film festivals there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Miami maybe a long time ago. I haven't been there since. I know I had like family members there. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I wish that Florida was we've been trying to get like incentives here in the state, and I know that uh I don't know what in the San Francisco Bay Area where you live, what is the reception of like filming in this in the San Francisco Bay or in the San Francisco area? Is it like a positive experience or is it a negative, or what is the reaction to those who wanted to make films in San Francisco over there is what I'm saying.
Well, maybe like 10 years ago, it was really accessible to make films there. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden with the new mayors and stuff like that, they changed it so it wasn't easily accessible because of the taxes and like
Hmm.
things like that. But now I think they're opening it up again to have the permits more accessible and not so expensive and having people come to film with the new mayor. He Daniel Lurie, he is very into that. So
Hmm.
hopefully we'll see more people filming in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to get like filming permits here in the state. I mean, the last type of Hollywood movies that were trying to make movies in the state of Florida, they ended up going to say like the state of Georgia or some other location because it's more accessible there than it is here. I mean, that's the one thing I wish we had more productions here in Florida. I mean, we've been trying to get incentives. We've been trying to get a lot of different things. We just get more like independent filmmakers or television productions coming over to the state of
Mhm.
Florida. But but that's the one thing I wish I would see more of, like just something like from more filmmakers who would try to make more films here, either in the Tampa area where I live in, New Tampa, or maybe somewhere like that. I mean, there's a lot more talent here than I think people may not realize.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I know I know Orlando and then Miami, they have a bunch of film festivals there, but they that's interesting that they don't really have any films made there
Hmm.
recently. So that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, from what I've read, I'm not saying who would be responsible. There were a number of attempts in the Florida state legislature where they tried to pass a certain bill to make sure that we do get enough people coming into the state to film productions here. So that way we could get more business booming here. We could get more
Hmm.
of a growth. And also that if they had like incentives, then that means it
Right.
would be much more accessible for filmmakers instead of filming in areas that are too expensive to film over there, or maybe it's getting I don't know what the situation is in California right now at the moment, like in Hollywood, but uh
Yeah.
yeah, but if they decided to make films here in Florida, I mean that would be something because we desperately needed more of that here in Florida as well.
Well, I hope that comes about for you guys because yeah, that would be great. I was just
Yeah.
in Atlanta last month and I was on a tour and it seems like because they do a lot of film productions in Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
and they were saying that yeah, it's accessible for a lot of filmmakers because the permits are easier to get and the taxes are better for hotels and stuff like that and food. So they filmed Walking Dead there and all that. So
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
that's one of the I mean Atlanta, Georgia was regarded as like the Hollywood of the South is what they were given, but
right.
now it's like I don't know if some people would agree with me on this or not, but it's like every other time you see people trying to make movies, they either do it abroad, like maybe overseas, so that the
Yeah,
taxes would be easier, or they
right.
just try to film it like in a like a digital set or something like that, it's so impossible for me to
Yeah.
see Hollywood take itself seriously anymore.
Right, exactly. Because, and then with AI and stuff, it's in green screen and all that. You can just pretend you're somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean it's not something I would say is the optimistic thing for me regarding so now that I wanted to segue into artificial intelligence, uh I mean, it's a scary thing. I mean, what
Yeah.
is your take on it? Because I've been hearing this sort of debate within the industry saying there are half of people who are somewhat accepting it, and then there are others who are saying that they are refusing to use it. So, what would you say is like your whole take on this situation that we're in at the moment?
Well, my whole take on it is I refuse to use it. If I don't have to use it, I won't use it because I still believe in old school film ways and old school like techniques and stuff like that, where, you know, the actors are there and you use the actors, you do the background with whatever you have, and you can also manipulate that. And
Mhm.
I think AI is just too easy. It's just, to me, it's kind of like the lazy way to make
Yeah, it
film.
is. Yes. I mean, the I think the reason I guess we're bringing this up is because I've been reading like other people within the industry, whether they are actors or directors or producers, now saying that they wanted to use artificial intelligence. For me, it's like I don't want to give in to this because as much as people say as you say, it's an easy tool and it's the lazy
Hmm.
tool,
Hmm.
it's nothing more than a machine, and
Right.
it's a fear that I am very concerned about, and I think that, as you say, we need to get back to that old school tradition of making films on location with real performers, real actors, and real directors and real storytellers because I don't know if it's going to go away anytime soon. So I just
Yeah.
don't know. I just don't know at this moment.
Yeah, and it takes away a lot of jobs from people like, you've heard of Hollywood, like there's a lot of crew people that are not, they're being cast out of their jobs because of AI. They don't need them anymore. And it's kind of sad that
Mm.
it comes to that, because these people have probably been working in the industry for a long time in their position, and then all of a sudden they can't do it anymore because of AI. It's really
Yeah,
sad.
it is, but I try to somewhat be optimistic as much as I try to be because when was the last time you heard a story about? I know that the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences recently just put out a statement saying that they are no longer going to accept artificial intelligence either in next year's award ceremony or the year after, is what I've been hearing. But depending on but with the rules, the question is about is how can you tell whether the studio is using artificial intelligence or not? That's the tricky part to figure out
Yeah.
because you cannot tell which one is using it and which one isn't.
Sometimes you can tell, I mean, but most of the time it's kind of hard to tell, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's great that the Academy is saying that because to me that, AI is not like filmmaking to me. So I'm
No.
glad they're saying
Yeah.
that they can't take films with artificial intelligence. There's a lot of film festivals too that are doing that too. They won't take um, films that have used AI at all. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing, absolutely, because as much as people say they want to use it or people want to use it, for me, I'm just not on that. I know people would say that they like to use it as a tool or things like that, but I don't
Yeah.
I wouldn't agree that you can use it as a tool because that's how it starts. People would say it seems harmless and innocent, but maybe within the next 5, 10 years, that harmless innocent thing could take on a life of its own or something like that. But you never know, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't know because it's just scary that there's a lot of robotics going on right now anyway. Like, when I was in Atlanta, I saw this robot taking the garbage out and emptying it. It was a robot garbage can like
Hmm.
thing, and it was like, wow, and
Hmm.
then Waymo with all these driverless cars.
I
It's like
mean,
interesting.
I'm still against the idea of having machines control themselves because as much as people would like to say it's easier to get it said than done, for me, I would prefer human people. I would prefer humans doing the jobs instead of
Yes,
robotics or machines.
yes, yes.
Because as much as people like movies where it's a sci-fi movie where artificial intelligence is in a science fiction picture or it's in a comedy or whatever,
Hmm.
they may not realize that it's reflective of what's supposed to be now.
Right, exactly.
I think that's the one thing that people may not realize when they watch films of the past. They have not realized that these are predictions of what we are experiencing now. Is what I think people have not taken away from these types of pictures.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So yeah. As much as I wanted to say this, so anything that you wanted to comment on besides the artificial intelligence that we had discussed about, uh, maybe on anything non-AI related is what I'm thinking.
well, not really. I mean, I like to do different kinds of use different kinds of techniques and stuff. And one of the things that I really like to do is make silent films
Mm,
because sometimes I feel like um dialogue can be overrated. And I
yeah.
think that actors have a chance when I use that kind of technique that they have a chance to use more of their bodies and their facial expressions to get the point across instead of just talking all the time, instead of using verbal language. So that's one of the things that I like to do. And it's great because it's kind of experimental in a way, but it also goes back to the old school stuff that I was talking about, like
Mm-hmm.
silent film, how they never had any dialogue, and then when they got sound, it was kind of like a pain in the butt because they were like,
Mm.
"How do we do this?" Audio is like a I don't know, it's crazy, but yeah. So I like to do silent films when I can, and two of my films were like that,
Mm.
pretty
That's
much.
cool. So you have done two films that were done without almost excuse me, without almost any dialogue at all. So they're dialogue-less films.
Right.
Um, have any of the filmmakers within AMP used experimental techniques or tried to not push the boundaries too much, but try to do something like innovative within the storytelling for AMP productions?
Well, I had one of my DPs, one of my directors of photography, use a lot of GoPro. He
Mm,
was like, "Oh, let's do a GoPro," because it was about a dog, and the dog was telling the story. So he put the GoPro on the dog, and the dog would just go around, and there was a voiceover over it, kind
mm,
of like what you see on TV and stuff sometimes. But it was interesting to use a GoPro instead of just a regular camera.
mm,
And
that,
we've had to use so many different cameras that it's kind of funny, but
mm,
it's like the big thing these days is 4K and now what, 6K, 8K.
mm-hmm,
So, we try to do what we can to make the film look good. And then one time I did just interviews with people recording themselves on their phones and then
mm-hmm.
sending me their tapes of what they recorded on the phone, and then we use that for interview material, and then just edited it out and whatever, added music to it. And it was interesting because now that we have phone cameras that can do really great things, it's easier for people to make film.
Yeah.
So we use that in interview process for some documentaries that we've done.
That's really cool. I whenever I think of experimental techniques or something a little bit challenging, I always think of like changing the camera format or maybe
Mhm.
changing like the narratives, like whether it's linear or non-linear or maybe like little vignettes.
Right.
That's something I always like to do. Or I think my other favorite would be like collage films, whether you take clips from other existing material, whether it's film or television, and try to put together, uh, as long as it has a needle, like as long as there's a thread that sort of connects them to each other, like what is the main topic or the plot that connects these clips together. But yeah, it's interesting to do a collage film. I mean, I tried to do one when I was in college years ago.
Hmm.
But it was in the form of like flipping channels, I guess, like TV channels, so that it was all like clips from anything that was public domain related. That was all I could find to put
Oh,
together.
okay. Well, I have this one film that I made about 10 years ago. It's called Still Life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a black and white film, and it's just photographs put together to make a story.
Mm.
And it got a couple of awards for experimental film. But it was telling the story of this woman and her mother and father. And the woman was a filmmaker or a photographer. She wanted to be a photographer in the story. And the mother was totally against it, and the father was all on her side, was very supportive. And it shows the progression of how the mother and daughter's relationship happened with these photos. And then at the end, the father gets really sick and passes away.
Mm.
And then the mother and the daughter reconcile because there's no one else to support her anymore but the mom. So the mom
Mm.
gives in. And it
Yeah.
just tells the story in these photographs. So
That's really nice. I what is the name of this little film that was done with photographs called?
it's called Still Life.
Oh, Still Life. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
No,
It
no.
was in Cindy's. It's been in a couple of film festivals. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. I always like to see like different types of techniques or experimentations.
you
Um,
should check it out.
All right. I'll do that. So besides yourself at Asian Mainstream Productions, so who are some of the other like people who work for this company, and like what are some of the things that they do in terms of like do they also produce? Do they direct? Do they act? Like who are some of the key players, if I would say so?
Well, one of them is Maureen Kramer. She's also an actress and she's done producing for the 48-hour film festival in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
She's also one of my right-hand people. We co-produce, we co-direct, that kind of thing. And then there's Michael Wu, who's also a director, actor, producer. And then there's also Raphael Musny. He's an actor, mostly an actor, and sometimes producer. And then
Mm-hmm.
Norman Luce, who's a director, producer, writer. So there's quite a few people under our wing. So
All right. That's good. That's good to know. So, so any other future plans that maybe is in the works, or any productions that are coming up that you wanted to let people know, or maybe you can let them know because it's under wraps at the moment.
well, there's one film that I've been working on for the last 4 or 5 years called Soap Operas for Seniors. It's a
Mm-hmm.
feature film anthology comedy, and it's different stories about seniors living in today's society. So that's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
And then I have another feature that I'm working on called Bushido Boy. It's a comedy, martial arts comedy
Mm-hmm.
feature. And then I'm working on another documentary for autism, which is a segue from my other film, Silent Voices, about adult autism, because the
Mm-hmm.
other one was about children and autism. This one's about adult autism.
That's good. Well, you're speaking to an individual who was diagnosed with ASD since since I was about a year and a half. But it's good that I now have a chance to speak to somebody who had made a documentary about people who were diagnosed with autism, and it's tremendous.
Yes, it all started with my grandson who's ASD, and he's 12 now, but when I did this film he was like 5.
Mm,
And what sparked the interest in autism was we were at a local eatery here in the Portland area, and some woman was making fun of him because he was doing, they flap, they don't speak very well. They grunt sometimes, and at that point he wasn't speaking, he was nonverbal.
mm,
So she was making fun of him, and me and my son-in-law went over there and said, "Are you making fun of this child because he cannot speak?" He's, "Oh no, I'm not," and I'm like, "Yes, you are."
mm.
So that kind of sparked me to go into autism and to learn more about it because I also worked with a bunch of children in my preschool that had autism because I was a preschool teacher for like 20 years.
Hmm.
And and I know the signs, and I could almost say something about you because I could almost say, yeah, are you like on the spectrum? But I didn't want to ask. But
No, no, it's totally fine. Um, okay, so this question I think popped into my head a little bit. So when you make the films or when your production company makes the films, what type of distribution deals are they mostly going to be? Are they going to be from the majors or independents or like what type of deals would they be like when you were the company are trying to negotiate with distribution deals for these films?
I'm still looking into that, and I would probably go the independent route. I'm still
Hmm.
doing research on that because I'm not too familiar with distribution at the moment, but I would like to work on that for the
Mm.
future. That's one of my goals. So, yeah, I would like to learn more about it and still researching, but
Hmm.
I think a lot of the documentaries that I've done have a good chance of going through distribution, especially since they're about mental illness and neurodiversity. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And now a message from Jordan Ramirez for Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez.
I want to take a break from this episode to thank my listeners/viewers who watch the videos on my YouTube channel and listen to each new episode on Spotify. While this show is a labor of love and passion that isn't about the movies that I like, this is also a show that is about the films that you like. Have a film that you want to recommend to the podcast? Make sure to recommend it in the comments section on YouTube and on Spotify, and you will receive a shout out in a future episode. Want to be a guest on the podcast? Click on the sign up form link in the episode description for further details. If you like this episode or my previous episodes, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more interviews in the near future. The goal for this channel is to reach up to 100 subscribers both on YouTube and on Spotify. It's just that easy. And now, back to our regularly scheduled episode. Yeah, I mean, I think I brought this up because as much as people wanted to make movies independently versus like doing the other route, which would be to make a feature or an independent or a film for a major studio,
Hmm.
it tends to not be as successful as people would hope it would be. But I thought I would ask that because I don't know. I just always thought about like what is the whole concept of like making films independently and then the concept of like what it would be like to negotiate with other distribution companies who make deals. But I think that's a thoughtful and honest answer that you have given. So yes, I'm thankful
Yeah,
for that.
it's tough because, first of all, as a filmmaker, you want everybody to see your film eventually, right? I mean, that's your goal to people have people see it, to watch it, and then when you can, distribution. But it's there's so much stuff out there that you don't know which way to go sometimes or what to do or who to trust. There's so
Mm,
many different things out there that
hmm.
may not be for you. So
Yeah.
I'm still researching that, and I just want to make sure we get the best deal for our films because we love what we do and we're passionate about it. So we want to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Asian when Asian mainstream productions started, I think I'm gonna go back into like the company for a little bit. So when the filmmakers who make these films, um, like want to get their story. So is it like do they have an idea in their head, like a script, and then they decide to make the film? And
Mhm.
then so what is the process like for, let's say, a filmmaker who wants to make the film? Even if it's like a low budget film or a medium budget, or what is the process like for those, like, let's say my audience wants to know who may be pursuing to want to make films independently, but have the right idea of how to make it into the business is what I'm asking.
So Asian mainstream started out, as I told you, as I mentioned, as a avenue for people that want to see more diversity in film, correct?
Yes.
So, but I also have Asian mainstream as a collaborative.
Okay.
So when we started, we had a lot of college students come in, from local colleges or, friends of friends that are in film or actors that said, "Hey, I want to make this film. What can you help me with?" And we're like, "Okay." So we all got together and so and so has the camera, so and so has DP skills, so and so has producing skills, so and so has directing skills. So we all get together and we make a film based on this person's script. And
Mm,
also, my nephew was also a screenwriter for us, so he did a lot of screenwriting. But
mm,
anyway, we take everyone's concept into consideration and we decide, well, let's do this film then, because yeah, it's low budget, but we have the resources to do it, so let's do it. So that's the way we've always worked, and we still do that in a
mm,
sense. But now it's more like people come to us and say, "Hey, can you do this film on neurodiversity? Can you do this film on just comedy or whatever?" So
mm.
it's kind of like we've taken that into consideration. And yeah, funding is always a factor, but
Mm.
we manage.
Yeah. That's exactly something I wanted to do because as much as I wanted to make films on my own, uh I always try to go to film festivals to try to understand, the process of it because anytime somebody tells me their stories of what it's like to make films, either it's the funding that's one of the main hurdles of trying to get the projects made, for
Hmm.
somebody trying to make their own film, or it's the company, or maybe like they need some recognizable person to be part of this production that would make the process run smoothly. But for some of the other films, when I went to Gasparilla Film Festival, for instance, there were a lot of people who made films that didn't have like big name stars, but
Right.
they tried to do whatever they can to get their films out there, despite some of these hurdles. But they did everything they can to make the films. They did everything they can to put their ideas and their creativity out there. And they just do what they need to do because it's a passion or it's a hobby that they wanted to get out there. It's not something that they're going to be big stars someday. It's just something that they
Right.
wanted to start off firsthand because I don't know if some producer in Hollywood or some studio in Hollywood would say that person is going to be, working for us someday or something like that. I don't know if that's realistically possible, but that's just something that I thought I would bring up because I always wanted to understand what this process of filmmaking is, not just for the company you work for, but also for any other filmmaker who wants to pursue their goal of, making their dreams a reality.
I think it's interesting you say that because first of all, I think as a filmmaker, you have to be a storyteller. You have to
Mm,
want to make a film based on a story that you're passionate about or something that you really want to do. And most of the time, a lot of the people that have come to us say, "I really want to do this story." And we're like, "Sure, I mean, we'll do it the best possible way we can." And to us, we're not out to make big bucks or make a lot of
mhm.
money because that's not what it's about. It's about
Mhm.
getting the story out there in the best way possible,
Mhm.
with the people that you really want to create with, because we're a family. We're pretty much a family at Asian Mainstream. We've all worked together on different projects. We've all done each other's projects. So it all comes down to the fact that, yeah, you want your film seen, but you also want to do it in the best way possible. And there's so many different ways to do that these days with phones and well, I'm not going to say AI, but
No, no.
but there's so many different ways you can do it, and you don't really need a lot of money to produce a film. I
Mhm.
mean, I've done films for like a couple $100 and it turned out okay. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the way to go, but if that's the way what you want to do, that's fine because even student filmmakers find a way to make films.
Hmm. I mean, I think the best example that I could give, I guess he's one of the only people I can think of, was Sean Baker, for example. I mean, he
Yep.
made films in which he directed films about underrepresented individuals, and almost all of his films were shot on iPhones, like you mentioned.
Right.
And he was able to, I mean, he made the Florida project in my home state, and he often shot in locations that were not touristy or anything like that. He shot in real rundown locations, real places that nobody
Mhm.
would ever want to film at. But he was a
Right,
storyteller and he knew how to make stories that connected, not just trying to exploit them. I never thought of him as sort of an exploitation director in a
right.
way, but he was more of like trying to humanize these characters that were that I think Hollywood had totally ignored. So I don't know if you would agree with me on this one.
Yes, I would. I would because I have a lot of filmmaker friends who are, okay, guerrilla filmmakers, I should say,
Hmm.
that just go, okay, we're just going to shoot this right here. I'm like, really? Right here in front of, yeah, it's okay, and people walk by and we stop filming and then
Hmm.
we resume filming once they're, forget the permits. I'm sorry. And I have a few friends that do that and have made some great films. And
Hmm.
so yeah, locations are just like whatever, and
Hmm.
you can, yeah, like Sean Baker, he's done this stuff kind of guerrilla-ish,
Yes.
and I can, well, look at Robert Rodriguez too. He's like, he had no film training,
Hmm.
he has his ranch, he does everything on his ranch,
Yes.
and he goes, let's barbecue. Okay, now let's make a film. But there's so many ways to do film these days. I think that it's great because we're in an era where we have all these tools accessible to us, and I just feel that, we need to utilize them in different ways, and AI is really not the answer.
No, no. I totally don't think of it as a solution to a main problem.
Yeah.
What I would say is, if one were to do this, the Florida example I gave, like we need more people coming into other states that are not like film heavy or film attractive, but we need more of those people because there are so many talented people here. There's
Hmm.
so many talented people in other states that often get ignored and you try to do something that you have to do a story, you have to show how much you want to make movies and your passion for making stories. And also, as you say, you have to make it like as if you were a team and not just a me, as in you want it to be all about you.
Right.
So, I mean, it has to be a sort of collaborative effort as much as people want to make films. That's I think that's what I would say if anybody wanted to be interested in filmmaking right now at this moment.
Yeah, and the big word that you just said is collaboration.
Yes,
Collaboration.
collaboration. Yeah.
It's like it's not just about me and you. It's everybody else that's involved. It's a collaboration of people making a film. And some people don't understand that. Some people think that, oh, I can just make a film by myself. Sure you can, but you need help. You can't do everything. I mean, you can try, but it's tough to do everything. But it's more helpful when you get other people to chip in and do work with you. So,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, some of the filmmakers I talked to, they told me that they collaborated with other people and they tried to put their ideas out there. Or if you were trying to do it like, I know there are some directors that don't just work as one person, but they often work together, or maybe if it were an example like three people, then you could try to get your ideas out there as much as you can. Either writing a script or directing or trying to get your ideas out there. And then to see how many people whom you know are talented and whom you had been with collaborating with since I would say since the very beginning of when you started making movies or maybe when you started to work together. It's not that hard to, just to have those people on board, whether or not you wanted to use them or maybe to get them on board of a project that maybe you're not sure they will do it. And then they say, yes, I would do it because this is something that maybe I am passionate about as well.
yeah, and it's the big thing is you have to have people that are on the same page as you
Hmm.
because there's the hierarchy in film, right?
Yeah.
There's like the PA, the script writer, the director, the producer. So you have to be respectful of that too. And sometimes it's hard when people don't do that
Mm.
because you're still working as a team, but you still have to be respectful of people's jobs and what they do. And I've had that happen a couple of times when I'm like, no, that's not your job. But I've had small enough crews where we've all had to wear different hats.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit more acceptable in that vein. But when you're working on a gigantic crew with all these people and you have to know your place and you have to know that yeah, we all are working together. We're still working as a unit, even though
Hmm.
there's all these different people. So,
Yeah, I totally agree with that, definitely. I mean, um, I will admit this. When I started making a few short films when I was maybe in high school or in middle school, at
uh-huh.
first I didn't take the craft of filmmaking seriously. Because I originally thought that I could do stuff like the big guys did in maybe like the big budget studio films, but I realized that's not how it works if you're doing it independently, is what I later found out. And then I
Right.
realized as I got older that maybe I should have taken it seriously and just stuck to what I feel like I wanted to do for my passion because I'm always thinking about the types of movies I enjoyed very much. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I know. I mean, and when I started making films, it was like I started making films with a 48-hour film festival,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't know what we were really doing. We had a crew of like 10 people, and we had like five people trying to write a script, and I found out no, that doesn't work because there's too many ideas coming in and
Mm-hmm.
too many people like, no, we should do this, no, we should do that. And it's like there wasn't an agreeable, you know, script. So it was better to just have two or three people write the script, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't shoot enough film to edit. So it
Mm.
was like, what are we doing here? There's not enough film to edit. So how are we making a story out of this? So we had to come up with some just like, I don't know what we did, but it was really funny because that's the first time we made a film, Asian mainstream.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot from that experience. So I'm
Ye-
just saying, if you ever have a chance to do a 48-hour film festival, do it because it really tests your chops of filmmaking to
Yeah.
do everything in 48 hours.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I would love to do because I know that I have a phone right now and I also have a camera. It's not like one of those fancy cameras that I originally wanted, but at least I have a camera that
Yeah,
works. And
yeah,
as long as I use it, whatever camera I have, I will use it to make something of my own that doesn't have to be like big budget quality. I mean,
right.
I mean, I think too unrealistically is what I'm thinking when I started making my own short films. I was thinking that I was going to be at the top, but then I realized no, I'm not there. I'm right here is where I'm at because I wasn't like I how would I put it this way? I wasn't like born with a silver spoon in my mouth is
Yeah, exactly. And
mm-hmm,
film costs money, the equipment and stuff.
mm-hmm,
But the thing is, when you're doing a film, you just got to remember with the camera, that doesn't matter what the camera is, it's a person behind the camera
mm-hmm,
that makes it work. So, and I've learned that through hard lessons, like, oh God, oh, we have to have a great camera. We have to have a 4K, blah, blah, blah. No,
mm-hmm.
but it's not really true. I mean, you can really do some good work. It's the person behind the camera with the eye that sees stuff that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also try to get my own lighting equipment as well because even though I have used a little bit of lighting equipment, the tricky part was when I tried to film let's say a little mini documentary I made, I always had to put the lights in certain corners of where the appliances are because I didn't have like a special type of equipment that would have like like something to put all the plugs in. So that was a tricky thing for me to do it. So I mean, yeah, I can. I mean, I wish I had more than that, but I have to work with what I've got, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you do. And then if when you collaborate with people, sometimes they have other stuff that you could use. Like, when I first started, I didn't have a camera, so I had a DP who had a camera. I had somebody else that had lighting equipment. We all kind of like got together, and that's how we made a lot of films together too.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that's what the first time filmmakers had to do when they make their own movies, like trying to use whatever equipment they had, whatever film they had. And even if it was like filmed in their own neighborhood or in their own apartment or wherever,
Yeah, yeah,
that's all you could do. I mean, you have to film wherever you can because you may not have a fancy studio or anything like that, but just film wherever you can. It doesn't have to be
yeah.
somewhere fancy.
Well, I filmed when I lived in the city. I filmed in almost every single room in my house. I
Hmm.
used every single room in my house. Sometimes I would just change the background, depending on what script we're using. So that's fine. You got to use what you got, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, almost all the films, I mean, the first few movies I made were like no budget films. They were not like big
Yep.
budget movies or anything like that. I mean, I was just trying to practice with whatever I've got. And some of the films I made were like home movies. So that was something that I made. I mean, that's just something I wanted to do. If I wanted to take myself seriously as a filmmaker, then I would have said to myself, you have to learn what you want to do if you wanted to pursue your passion and not just think that you're going to make it by doing what you think is necessary, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, every time I do a film, I feel like I learned something, in the from the process because I never went to film school. I just learned by being on set and as being an actress, I've learned stuff by watching people, and stuff. And then I took one or two classes, but that was it. But
Hmm.
most of the time I take away something from every shoot that I've done, like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that again. Yeah, I don't want to have more than one or two PAs or something like that, or
Yeah.
it depends.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few. Actually, I to bring this up. Besides doing a few short films, I've done a few. I've done a few little segments for the college I went to, Hillsborough Community College in Ybor
Oh,
City,
mm-hmm.
and even though I had done some camera work on a few little short films and news segments, the only thing that I now look back upon where I noticed I made a little goofs or mistakes when I was doing these camera when I was doing like camera work because the only person who knew about that was the camera person who was there at my school, and he told me, "Why were you filming it this way or not the way that we told you to?" And
Yeah.
at that time, I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing because I like film, but at the same time, I'm working with equipment that's not even mine, even though it's a bit challenging for me to try to do whatever the teacher is asking me to do. So it's like a little bit hard for me to understand it, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you learn through process, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You learn by making your mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes can really help you because then you know you're not going to do that again.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went through different classes, different film production classes, even TV production class that I took when I was at USF in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, but I try my best, and as much as I wanted to make the types of films I wanted to do, I thought, I don't know if podcasting would be listed as a type of film technique, but I know that some people would use like three or two different cameras whenever they're doing like video podcasting or things like that, which I thought is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting. I have a couple people that podcast too, but they only use one camera. They don't use different cameras. They just use one.
I
So it's up to you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, right now I'm using like a video camera right now, for example, because I may not have like fancy equipment like maybe all the other podcast shows may have because they have a lot of money or they make a lot of deals. But I work with whatever I have, as I said earlier.
And that's how you start, actually. You work with whatever you have. Then you build up to getting different equipment, to getting different people to help you out. It's just a process is what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. Okay, so we still got a few minutes of time left. So what do you think people will want to know about? I mean, we've gone through a lot about different types of topics here and there. So Asian mainstream productions, it's a so what are some of the films that maybe for my viewers who have never seen like a film or a commercial from this company, what are some examples that maybe or titles that maybe would get them started to know more about what are the types of content? I mean, you mentioned documentaries and comedies and all sorts of films. So what are some titles that maybe you would want my audience to be interested in if they had never seen one of these films or documentaries from Asian mainstream productions?
Okay, so first of all, I mentioned Still Life, which is the experimental film in black and white. That's photographs. It's a drama. So that is one that you can watch. Also, Silent Voices is my film on autism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, also, Borderline health, mental health care and the balance. It's about bipolar and borderline personality disorder. And then on the other side of the spectrum, I have On Command Revisited, which is also a silent film, but it's a comedy.
Mm.
So those are like four films that you can watch. They're on my YouTube account under Maria Picar.
Okay.
Um, and then another film that I have made, Phantom Pain, is the newest one we've made, and it's about addiction and obsession. And it's also a black and white, almost a silent film. There's a
Hmm.
couple of lines of dialogue, but it's done in the Twilight Zone kind of black and white like style,
Mm.
sci-fi.
It's amazing. So I mean, I always try to use technical terms, but I feel like maybe there are some technical terms that I may try to remember, but it's like maybe not. So I try my best to just describe it the way I see it instead of trying to act like I know all this stuff, even though I may not.
Right. I mean, you don't always need technical terms anyway, because if you want a general audience, they're not going to know what you're talking about anyway.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
general terms is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you, oh, sorry. So, before we wrap things up here, do you have any concluding statements about your company, yourself, or anything else that we have mentioned all throughout our discussion on this episode?
Well, I think about myself, I like to continue to do films because I'm a storyteller. I love to tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then also in film, you have to be flexible because things will just happen on set or before in your pre-production or your post-production. So you have to be flexible because sometimes the idea you originally thought of that would happen could not happen, or it's, so you have to kind of be flexible to be able to mold that into something more like of what you're trying to explain or what you're trying to portray to the audience. So that's a big thing. Be flexible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So where can people find you and also your and also Asian media, mainstream productions. I keep having this issue with trying to say mainstream, and all I can muster out was media. So
That's
where can
okay.
yeah, so where can people find you and Asian mainstream productions, just in general?
Uh, Website www.asianmainstream.com. My YouTube channel, Maria Picar. You just look under my name. I think it's 5725 is and then I'm on Instagram under Maria Picar 8 at Maria Picar 8 or Asian Mainstream 05
Okay.
and then Facebook too.
All right. That's wonderful to hear. And I will make sure to subscribe to your channel and make sure to see some of your work, because you got me interested in some of the titles that you have mentioned. So yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you, Jordan, for this. This is great.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, this is Jordan Ramirez signing off. And again, thank you, Maria, for being on my show. It's been a wonderful pleasure, a wonderful discussion, not just you and your production company, but also about filmmaking in general, and also about why we need more independent, diverse voices within the industry. Because without that, how can we avoid the blandness and generic storytelling of like major studios that try to remake or put out the same stories over and over again when we can just make stories even better with diverse voices. So thank you
I
so
just
much.
want to say one more thing.
Okay.
I saw Harrison Ford on an interview, and some guy asked him, "So is it your goal in life to remake all the films that you've been in and do sequels to them. And he said, "You bet your ass it is." It was so funny. But I just
Yeah,
had to say that because that's what Hollywood's doing these days, remaking all these
IPs.
yes.
I
So
Yeah, I mean, it's better just to stick to originality than just recycling because the more
that's
you
what they're doing.
recycle, it becomes bland and generic and it becomes uninteresting.
Yep, yep. So anyway, I
Yeah.
just thought I'd say that because I thought it was hilarious that he
No,
said
no.
that.
No, it's a perfect summation of where I think we should go with this because I used to like watching original films from the major studios, but it feels like they're not doing that anymore. It's
Right.
now a sort of it's now a sort of bland world that they're living in at the moment.
Yeah, let's do a Blade 14 or let's do a Predator 21.
Y- Yeah.
All these franchises that, you know. But anyway, thank
Yeah.
you, Jacob.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I'm sorry, Jordan.
Yes. No problem. And I hope that we meet again soon and see how AMP continues to make more and see where we go from here.
Yeah, keep in contact, definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. And until then, I'll see you at the movies.
All right, see
Bye.
you at the movies. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.